Hi, welcome back to Broken and Brilliant. This is Carrie O'Toole with Carrie O'Toole Ministries, and I'm here again with my guest, Naci Littlejohn. Naci and I met about 2 months ago in Dallas, Texas, at an event that we'll share about here in just a little bit. Life-changing for both of us, really amazing. But as I heard her story, it was so compelling, and I just thought we have to have a podcast, and we haven't done podcasts in about 2 years. And so Naci, you're my first coming back to this. So if you missed her story, you have to go back and listen to that one first. But where we left off was after just a lifetime of trauma and abuse done to you, done by you, I don't even know how to explain all of it without going back through the whole thing. But you were in such a dark place. And you were sharing just at the end of that last podcast, and I'd love for you to just start with where the healing began. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes. So I was talking about my marriage with my husband and just the anger I had towards him and towards the Lord, and it was all at this point due to our abortion that we had before we got married. And so I was just so angry and hurt inside, and I was mad. And so the Lord took us back to that day and was able to walk us through that day.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, I went to this thing called inner healing. And what that looks like is you go back to a memory, but we ask the Lord to show it without the pain. So he can walk you through the healing process. Mm-hmm. And so he brought me back to that day, and he showed me where he was. And I saw where he was that day in that clinic. And, he was there, and I didn't know his voice. And if I did, I would have heard him give me the way out, but I didn't know his voice. And so he brought me there, and I was like, oh, that was you, Jesus, that was you. And so, but he walked me through it. And for the first time, I was able to forgive myself. I forgave myself, and I forgave my husband because I blamed him. And I was able to, just really get set free from all the emotions that went with it, like the spirit of death, the spirit of shame and guilt and regret, and just the depression that goes along with it, and all the pain and trauma that goes along with it.
When I hear about this as a counselor, I know so many times when there's an addiction, when the addiction is broken, a lot of people think, okay, phew, I'm free, I'm clear, I'm not using anymore. But that's like only half.
Right.
Because there's all this other stuff that you have to then work through and find freedom and healing from. Yes.
The spirit realm is real, and we let things in when we open the doors to certain things. And so I had let, all death and unforgiveness, and just like the will to not even respect myself or my husband, all this stuff came in that day. And so anyways, while I'm in this inner healing, I just get walked through this process of forgiving and letting things go. And the Lord is so good. He doesn't hold it against me that he actually walked me through. He's so good. He's better than we can think or imagine. Yeah. He let me meet my baby. And, he walked her out to me, and it's so beautiful. And it's really personal, but I just got to share because he's this good. I had a thought a month before I go to this inner healing, and I'm like scrolling through Facebook, and I see all these people showing their babies, and they have these like cool little hats that have these bows on them now. And when my daughter was born, they didn't have those hats. It was just a regular hospital hat. But so I was like scrolling. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. I don't even know whose baby it was, but I'm like, that's so cute. And that was a month before. So I'm sitting there in this inner healing room, and he brings me my baby. That's how he shows me it's a girl. He places a hat on her head, and she's wrapped in a blanket, and he shows her to me. And then she goes from that little baby and flips to this toddler, and she's bouncing all over Jesus. And I heard her laugh, and he played this song for me, and it's like called Let It Happen by United Pursuit. And he said, you're full of life, you're full of passion, it's how I made you, so let it happen. And it's just this beautiful song of take me back, like to when I was young, running through the fields with you. And it just brought so much healing, and it just really restored my passion for life.
All of the,
yes,
all of it.
Yes,
wow.
Yes. And that's what my daughter wants. She told me I'm a good mom. And you know, like, it was just the sweetest experience. And so I get emotional because God's just so good, and I'm just so thankful, and I look forward to the day I get to hold her and play with her in heaven.
It's real. Yeah.
It is real. It's real. They're real kids, and there's going to be millions of babies in heaven, toddlers. Mm-hmm. And so anyway.
Well, you know, I had a miscarriage, and I had something similar to that.
Wow.
Yeah. Just knowing, you know, for a long time, I just never thought about it. And you try to just put it aside and not think about the pain of that, and not think about how old they would be and all of that. And I remember one time, actually, while we were at Next Level in Dallas, I had this similar experience where it's like that baby was real, that baby is real, and that baby is waiting for me.
Yes. And it just gives you so much peace.
Yeah.
You know, like knowing, and it's like, you know, like this peace, but also this excitement.
Yes.
To get to,
yes,
you know, spend eternity with them.
Yeah.
And Jesus in this, you know,
yeah,
amazing
it's hard in this life, but
yes,
yeah.
But like our greatest joy is in heaven. Mm-hmm. You know, like our greatest pain here, my husband says this, our greatest pain here will be joy in heaven. Like one of my greatest pains is that day, living with that decision I made, but that's going to bring them, you know, one of the most joys in heaven.
Right, right.
And I think that's
wow,
so good to hold on to. So in this, so with that being released and that being opened up and this wound being healed, I was finally able to look at my husband and see him for who he was. And the amazing man of God he is, and how God intended for us to be together all along. One of the things I forgot to mention is when we were living in darkness, I didn't know it was the voice of God. But when I met him, I heard the Lord say, this is who you're going to marry. But I didn't know it was the Lord. But there was a thought in my head that said, this is who you're going to marry.
Right.
And I was like, no, you know, like we don't even know each other. But like, and
you know,
so anyways, God intended.
I've done some teaching on hearing God's voice. What's that like for you? How do you explain that to somebody? You know, in 2 minutes or less. Just
Yes. So I would explain it. This is one of my passions, because this would have changed my life. Is we have thoughts in our head. We have thoughts that go through our head all day long. And if you would actually write the thoughts out, there's 3 voices. There's God's voice, there's our voice, and there's the enemy's voice. God's voice is full of truth. It's going to be like encouraging, hey, that person looks lonely, go say hi to them, or you know, that person's sick, go pray for them, you know, things like that. Or it's just going to be like encouraging. It's going to be full of truth. And your voice is going to be like, oh, I shouldn't go up to them, they might think I'm weird, or what if they tell me no? It's just going to be, you know, questioning what God's voice said. Or it could be self-focused, like you know, me, I, whatever. And then the enemy's voice is going to be full of accusations, like, why should you go up to them? Why would God use you? Or, you know, like, why would anybody want to talk to you? It's just going to be full of accusations, the voice of the accuser. And so these are thoughts that go in our head, and they're so quick throughout the day. Right. Sometimes we notice them louder than others. Sometimes we don't. But if we would actually sit and quiet ourselves, like, and take the time, like God's voice is in there and he's speaking. And that's just one of the ways he talks. He talks in visions and all other things, but that's the simplest, quickest way to explain it.
Right.
Are the thoughts in your head. We think it's going to be like this big old crazy thing that comes from heaven to speak to us, but it's really, he's He's here. He dwells in us.
Right, right. You know,
And
sometimes the way I explain it is I used to be a music teacher, and we took an ear training class, which would teach us how to hear the different pitches and what chords are and all of that. And this is very similar. We need to train our ear to hear
yes,
what God's
yes,
voice is and who
tune our
He
ears.
is compared to the others. Yeah,
Yes.
that's
'Cause
so
he's
good.
full of love. He's full of truth. He's full of life. He's just
Yeah, it's always better than
accepting.
what you would think.
It is.
That's how
Yes.
you know it's Him.
Yes, it is. And so I knowing the voice of God is something I'm super passionate about, because if I would have known his voice, I wouldn't have fallen for all. I was basically following the enemy's thoughts in my head my whole life and what he had to say. And so that's why I'm like, no, I want everyone to know the voice of God, because he's so much better than we think.
Yeah.
He will guide us into all truth, and he has a good plan and a purpose for our life. And, you know, we just, in the Bible, so many times it says, listen to what I have, you know, it's like, if you have ears to hear, listen. And he just wants to speak to us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so, so amazing. So we met at this next level experience, which we're actually going to be hosting one here in Castle Rock the end of
I
June.
love
I'm
that.
so
That's
excited because
amazing.
it just was transformative for both my husband and I, and we're going to actually do a video and share about that too.
Oh, wow.
But that's where you and I met. Tell us kind of what has been happening since then.
Okay, so yes, I gotta just say next level training was life-changing for me too. Because had I not done it, I would not have had the courage to sit here with you and share my heart. But I know I have nothing to lose. And so anyways, since then, it's opened the door. Like, I have a book, and I was paralyzed with fear to even promote it or talk about it before going
You've
to next
already
level.
written it?
Oh yes.
Oh,
It's called Wonderworks. And so since then, like, I'm actually like excited to share about it. Before I was like, oh, I'd have to get in front of people and share. Like, but because one of the things the enemy attacked was my boldness, my courage, and my confidence. He told me it was the drugs, when actually, no, that's who God created me to be. And so I can do that. You know, I can do this right now. And so anyways, I've started promoting my book, and I'm super excited about it because it teaches you the voice of God and restores wonder. And then also my husband and I have actually just something that we want is people to experience freedom, because God's given us so much grace and mercy and love and forgiveness and freedom, and we want others to have that too. And so he's given us this idea to do safe time, which is what we already do with people all the time in our house. And, you know,
so
at coffee
just
shops,
providing a safe
Safe
space.
time for a safe time, a safe space for people to share their hearts, like maybe open up, let things go. You know, one of the things that held me bondage for so long was the enemy saying, you can't share about this now. No one can know about this. You know, just like all these lies from the enemy, but it was holding me. It was keeping me trapped from what God has for me. And one of the ways people receive freedom is to share, to let things go, to just open up about it and recognize it for what it is. And God's just so good and faithful for people to, when they open it up, it just opens the door for freedom. When you actually, when you let someone in, and so we've had strangers, we've had friends, we've just seen so much fruit from people opening up and sharing with us, that the Lord showed us and gave us the idea to do safe time where people can actually do what we're doing now, Skype and talk to us and just share. And we're going to pray with them. And, you know, we're not saying we have all the answers, but we just want to provide a safe place, because we trust Holy Spirit to do what he wants to do.
You know, and that's one thing that I think the one thing I noticed you for the most at Next Level was when you were talking about Holy Spirit. In the church tradition that I grew up in, it was the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, you know, and we kind of didn't talk about the Holy Spirit much. The weird people over there did that, but not much. And that's been changing a lot in our realm. But when I heard you You addressed Holy Spirit by his name as if you knew him personally and he was your best friend. And the way you talked about him made me stop and go, like, what? You can do that? And so I've been shifting that in my world. And, it's a hard shift to make because I'm in my mid 50s and that's a lot of years. But as I talk to him, he's like, yeah, my name isn't the.
I love
True.
that.
Your name
That's
is not
right.
the. So that just drew me to you because of your relationship with God that is so, so deep. And when you've been through such hell as you have, to then experience heaven on earth, to see the difference. I mean, when you talked about that path, you were sitting there and you saw, this is the way my life is going, or this is an option. Choose life or choose death. Which are you going to choose? And you chose life.
Yeah.
I'm just so thankful to know you. I am so thankful for what God has done for both you and Josh. And I'm so excited to see what comes in the future. It's just amazing. Is there anything else you want to share before we hang up here?
I just want to share that it's been such an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm just so thankful to what Holy Spirit has done in my life. I couldn't be a good wife without him. I couldn't be a good mom without him. So many times I'll say something to my kids and Holy Spirit will be like, "Ooh, should have you just like, this is what they're like." He's like, this is what they heard. He's just so good to not like judge me, but he's like, this is what they just heard when you said that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not what I meant. Yeah. And so I'm like, we do. Yes. And so I'm able to go to them and say, hey, I was wrong. And I could not be a good mom without Holy Spirit. And so anyways, I just want him to get recognition and glory and him to be made known so people can know that he's real and experience freedom.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about the title for our podcast and I thought maybe we could call it Breaking Good.
Yes.
Instead of Breaking Bad.
I love that.
Because it's kind of just the opposite, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's so amazing. Well, Naci, I love you. I love your heart. I love your story.
I love you.
Thank you so much for being so courageous and brave. And I just pray that God will use this however he wants to and get it to all the people that need to hear it. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us. I'm Carrie O'Toole with Carrie O'Toole Ministries, and this is Broken and Brilliant. Come back next time.